Which school made the better hire? Be careful.
I think both schools made a hire in their own personality. I think Steve Alford is a terrific basketball coach, but in a lot of ways, they just rehired Ben Howland. Because Steve Alford is going to play motion offense. Ben Howland played motion offense. Steve Alford is going to play man-to-man defense. Ben Howland played man-to-man defense. Now, Steve Alford had 5 players from Southern California on his New Mexico team. But a number of those guys were transfers. When you're at UCLA, you're not getting transfers. You got to get them the first time out. You've got a great caveat there, obviously, being UCLA. Now, there's a couple things people don't realize about these two jobs. New Mexico, the Pit, is one of the best home courts in all of college basketball. Pauley Pavilion is a great court. John Wooden Court is a great court. They've got all those national championship banners. They don't hang Final Four banners there. They don't even act like they've existed. Yep. But you know what? There's not going to be 12,000 people in Pauley Pavilion each and every night. In fact, they only had 5 crowds all season long, over 10,000 people. So the job that we perceive of UCLA has a great history. It's a great job, but it's not what everyone thinks. No practice facility, and you're competing with the Lakers and the Clippers. Now you've got the New Mexico job that he just left. Let's just talk about. He left a job where in the first round, he did a great job at New Mexico. He rebuilt the tradition of that program. But he lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament this year to Harvard. If you lose to Harvard in the first round of the NCAA tournament at UCLA, you're gone. You're fired. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is. They fired Sweet 16 coaches. They fired Final Four coaches. They're sure not going to put up with losing to Harvard in the first round. But Steve's a terrific coach. He'll do a good job. Andy Enfield, to me, is more like rolling the dice. Is he the next Shaka Smart? Is he the next Brad Stevens? Well, let's look at Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens was at Butler. They knew exactly what they were getting. Let's look at Shaka Smart, his pedigree, his background. He worked for Keith Dambright. He worked for Billy Donovan. He worked for Oliver Purnell. Andy Enfield's a very good coach. He's a talented guy, a bright guy. He worked for Leonard Hamilton, who's a great program builder. And then he became the head coach for 2 years. Now, this is the same guy that's getting hired at USC that lost to the Maine Black Bears and Lipscomb twice. So, you're getting both sides of it. He did a great job with his team. But I would say he's more of an if than Steve Alford, because Steve Alford, he's lasted the test of time. He did it in Southeast Missouri. He did it at Iowa. He did it at
So you just said that Carey's UCLA made the better hire.
Better choice.
But
relax.
But who has the tougher job? More expectations.
Who has
Alford.
the tougher job?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the UCLA job is by far tougher because of expectation. And at USC, if you go to the NCAA tournament, you've had a good year. At UCLA, if you don't go to the Final Four, you haven't reached expectation. And after 4 years, if you haven't hung a banner, because those banners up there, I mean, it's crazy. Think about this. At Duke, at Kentucky, at North Carolina, when you go to the Final Four, you walk into Dean Smith Center, there's a banner. At UCLA, no banners. The Final Four doesn't mean anything. You got to do one thing and one thing only. You got to win a national championship. And the other thing I think about the UCLA job, you want to be Duke, you're a UCLA grad, you want to be Duke and Carolina and Kentucky and all those guys, then stop flying Southwest Airlines. Charter to your road games. Give me a break.
Come on, Carey.
Come on, Carey.
Hey, people
take a little bit of that
They
cash.
don't have enough money. They don't have enough money.
It's a state school.
It's a
They don't
state
have enough
school.
money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you think UCLA, is Kentucky or North Carolina or Duke, are they taking Southwest Airlines to go to a road game?
Listen, USC has plenty of money. They can give us some.
That
it's
is
private.
true.
Meanwhile, Stephen A., you want to weigh in on this? Who made the better hire?
Well, first of all, if my memory serves me correctly, I think it's been since 1953, 54 that USC was actually in the Final Four. I mean, it's been a long time. So as far as I'm concerned, there's nowhere to go but up. They've had one NCAA appearance in the last 4 years. Enfield, I mean, he put himself in a good position. That's fine. Steve Alford's got a lot to live up to because Ben Howland can coach the game of basketball. He is at UCLA. I think both schools made the right hires for themselves. But when I look at USC, I look at the absence of production in terms of their program on the basketball side, and I say, hey, you really have, to me, he's in a better situation than Steve Alford because Alford has to restore order and tradition that UCLA has grown accustomed to, whereas USC is trying to build one. So I definitely think he's in a better situation. What I would say to you, Coach, however, is this. I have something entirely different on my mind. I got a problem with the fact that this guy, not him specifically, I'm talking about the system, and Skip and I discussed this earlier, where you go and you're a coach and you get to just get up and leave and go somewhere else. But if those kids wanted to transfer. If USC saw FGCU in the NCAA tournament and said, well, we like Sherwood Brown, we like Thompson, let them come to our school instead of staying at Florida Gulf Coast, they'd have to sit out a year, would they not?
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm with you 100%. I'm with you. You get no argument with me. I think a guy should be able to transfer one time. You get a one-time exception to transfer. Yeah. And I think that, when a coach leaves a school, I believe that if a coach leaves a school and an incoming freshman had signed a letter of intent, they should automatically be released from that letter of intent and reopen their recruitment. Because the reality is, when a prospect signs, the NCAA say he's signing with a school. He's not signing with a school. He's signing with that coach. He's buying into that coach and his vision for developing him and helping him reach his potential as a player and as a person. And that's just the way it is.
Let's rewind a bit. Skip, I want to get your take.
Yeah, let's go back to the original question.
Yeah, who made the better
I'm going to disagree with Coach and with Stephen A. on this, but only a little bit, because I covered Steve Alford when he was a pro basketball player in Dallas. I'm with you. He is a fine basketball coach. I think he's been a little underrated because he's been a little off radar. I've been surprised he didn't get the UCLA type job earlier. He was really good at Southwest Missouri. They were Sweet 16. 3 times at Iowa with just marginal talent. They did go to the NCAAs. They didn't go very far, but they went. And then 3 times at New Mexico. And again, love the building there, love the pit, but I don't love the talent. And those transfers, I'm not seeing any NBA-bound transfers who are going to make a mark in the NBA. This is going to be the first time in Steve's life that he can coach real talent, because they had the #1 recruiting class in the nation last year. And I think he will continue to do that, and I think he will be more fun to play for than Coach Howland was. Coach Howland coached, as you know, with his arms around your neck, right?
And Ben, and very successful. But UCLA, when they hired Ben Howland and they went to those Final Fours, they knew what they were getting. And Steve, they're a little bit more freed up offensively.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about
it.
And Steve Alford left for one reason. At New Mexico, you're playing for a Mountain West championship. At UCLA,
sure,
you're playing for a national championship.
Now, who got the better hire? You're going to disagree with this. I'm going to go back to what Stephen A. always says. Box office, baby. There's something about Andy Enfield right now that is going to be box office for USC. People, I know the LA media. I was part of the LA media for a while. The attention's going to swing toward Andy Enfield with the former model wife who has the 3 children, and she still looks really good. And
Hollywood.
And she'll be very photogenic.
He better win games.
What's that?
He better win games, because putting people in the seats at USC is more about having a beautiful wife.
It's intriguing that he was the shot doctor for 2 NBA teams. As an assistant coach, he was the shooting coach. Well, it's a good story for USC to sell to the LA media. Now, again, I think he has a little charisma. I liked him with Tom Rinaldi in the interviews. He came across well on camera. You came across well on camera. And it
right, I'm hanging out with you now.
You're here. but it helps you recruit, and I think it will cause some buzz in the Southland, as they say in Southern California. And I think Enfield will start to attract some talent to USC, and I think he can coach. I thought he did a phenomenal job with the Cinderella that was.
He's a very good coach. He's a very bright guy.
Yeah.
The bottom line, when you're coaching at USC, number one, let's be realistic, right? Most nights, if it's not Arizona, it's not UCLA, there's going to be 5,000 people in the Gallon Center. They got a great facility.
They do.
Not a good facility, they got a great facility. They've got a practice facility. They've got great football program. They've got a tradition there that they can kind of live off of. But the whole idea, to me, I think it's insulting to Andy Enfield when people talk about his wife and the kids and all that.
But it's a good story.
It's a great story, but you know what? In the end, you got to recruit players and you got to win games. Is his wife going to help him recruit players? I don't think so. He's got to recruit players. Now, his pedigree, having a little bit of the NBA in him, sure.
Wait a minute.
That's a great thing.
Wait a minute.
Wait
a minute.
Off to my left.
I think that we sat on these very airwaves months ago when college football was going on, Skip, and we acknowledged that Nick Saban's wife helps with recruiting.
Yeah.
We acknowledge that she has an impact, okay? All right, so what I'm trying to say is that you can debate the reasons as to why it is, because it's different strokes for different folks, different reasons, et cetera, et cetera. But if the wife is who they say she is, there's no ruling out that she could be...
She could be valuable. She could be helpful.
She could be valuable in recruiting.
Sure.
There's no ruling that out.
Sure. All right.